Hi, welcome to SBR Videos. I'm Peter Loshak. It's week 7 in college football, and this is our very popular weekly call that we do with Steve from collegefootballwinning.com, who has a phenomenal long-term record of success in college football, and he gives us very insightful analysis every week on one game that he chooses. And this week, he has chosen UTSA against Southern Miss. This is a particularly interesting game, actually, that Steve has chosen because Southern Miss, of course, has overall been a very good bet. They're 5-1. Against the spread overall on the year, but last week they opened as a 7-point favorite, as a 7-point underdog, closed as a 3-point underdog, but wound up getting blown out. That was their one ATS loss. And then UTSA has covered 3 games in a row. They got a blowout win over UTEP 2 weeks ago, and then last week played very competitively as a big underdog against Louisiana Tech. So both these teams in general have good ATS profiles heading into this game. Right now, Southern Miss is a 9-point home favorite. The Greek notably has a lean towards Southern Miss even at that line. The Greek is hanging 9.5. The total of 58 or 58.5. Steve from collegefootballwinning.com, what would you like to tell us your thoughts on this game are?
Well introduced, Peter. I hate to begin a video, especially one about a game that I chose, with an apology, but I will start with an apology. It's not quite a disclaimer, but a bit of an apology. When I asked to do this video, almost everywhere, this game was at least for UTSA plus 10 and plus 10.5 at places like the Greek and at 5 Dimes and at Pinnacle. That was just last night. We're recording this on Thursday. It has changed. So now, as you said, widely available is 9, 9.5, but not that 10, 10.5. So, but bear with me on this analysis, and you'll see what I have to say. So judging this, getting UTSA at plus 10 or more, I believe that Southern Miss was just a bit overvalued here, and UTSA was just a bit undervalued. So looking at this matchup at first glance, you look at Southern Miss, as you introduced already, they're off to their best start since 2011. They're averaging over 35 points a game. They're averaging over 500 yards of offense per game. You already said they're 5-1 against the spread. UTSA straight up, 1-5. They're averaging just 3.62 yards per rush. That's 107th in the FBS, so obviously not very good. They got blown out by Oklahoma State. It was 69-14. This was the 3rd game of the season. They began the season with the fewest returning starters in the entire FBS. Their only win this season, you said, it was against UTEP. And UTEP is a team that's only beaten one FBS team so far this season, so not that impressive. It's Southern Miss's homecoming game. So if you're looking at this just at first glance, Southern Miss, things look pretty good for them. Well, let's look into this a bit further, especially with regard to UTSA. UTSA is just one of 3 FBS teams to open this season playing 3 consecutive Power 5 opponents. So their strength of schedule so far, any way you look at it or by almost any measure you want to use, UTSA has played a top 35 schedule. So it has been a difficult schedule. Southern Miss, just the opposite. And once again, any way you slice it, they have played a bottom 20 FBS schedule. Easy schedule so far. As for that blowout loss that UTSA suffered at the hands of Oklahoma State, UTSA had 7 turnovers in that game. And I know, Peter, you and I talk about turnovers a lot, and turnovers are not reliable. This is not something that is very predictive. So you don't want to look at that game as being the kind of tendency that you're going to see from them, especially when you look at UTSA for the first 3 opponents, all Power 5 opponents. UTSA was -7 in turnover margin. Since then, the last 3 games, they've played all Group of 5, the so-called Group of 5 conference opponents. UTSA is +3 in turnover margin. So throw out that Oklahoma State game for now. Versus those 3 Power 5 opponents, to start the season, they were outscored 141-49. Now, versus the Group of 5 opponents, the last 3 opponents they played, UTSA has outscored those opponents 87-73. And obviously, Southern Miss, the team that they're playing this week, they're a Group of 5 opponent, conference opponent. By some of our numbers, Peter, if UTSA and Southern Miss had played an equally difficult schedule, if all things were equal in terms of strength of schedule, and their football performance statistics were exactly what we see right now, then we would think that Southern Miss deserves to be a 10-point favorite. But since that relative strength of schedule for these teams is so lopsided, we think UTSA should only be a 7-point underdog, which is where this line opened. So you might be saying, well, okay, well, UTSA, you can get 9.5 right now, but by our metrics, Peter, unless we're getting at least 3 points, unless we get at least a field goal worth of value, it's a no play for us. So the conclusion is, right now, we're a couple days from kickoff, and something like 75% of all the public betting is coming in on Southern Miss. So there is still a decent chance that people out there can get UTSA plus 10 or even plus 10.5. I don't recommend buying points in this situation, so just wait to shop around and get that plus 10, at least plus 10. If it never gets there, if it never goes there, we're staying off of this game. But for now, it looks like it could, in the next 2 days before kickoff, it could flirt with plus 10 again, plus 10.5.
Interesting analysis, Steve, from collegefootballwinning.com. And of course, your website is where all the magic happens every week. Tell us what that's all about for anyone who's watching your video for the first time, Steve.
Sure. At collegefootballwinning.com, all we do all year round is college football betting analysis. I think we're the only service that does that also offers a 100% money-back guarantee on the entire season. You can still get that now. So we're a company that's founded on making college football betting recommendations algorithmically. We call those algorithmic formula betting recommendations our formula. That formula going into this season is 62.75% against the spread. The formula just started for this season within the last 2 weeks, 2 weeks ago. So you've only missed 2 weeks of formula betting recommendations. So go to collegefootballwinning.com. If you put in coupon code SBR10, that's SBR10, you'll get 10% off of any membership that we're currently offering.
Okay, Steve, thanks so much, and we'll talk to you next week.